I'm Anna, 45 years old. I got married 15 years ago to a man 2 years my junior. We met at what you'd call a mixer, and one of my friends casually mentioned that I had recently bought a house. That seemed to do the trick because, despite being older, I got some serious moves made on me by my now husband, Mark. At first, I was skeptical, but during our one-on-one date, Mark's warm smile and his genuinely kind and suave behavior had my heart all aflutter. Having never had a meaningful relationship with a man before, I fell for him hard and fast. I wanted to impress him, so I did my best to embody the ideal woman that men usually want. Fortunately, I didn't mind housework and had been living alone for quite a while. So playing the part of a domestic goddess wasn't that hard. After dating for a year, I happily accepted his marriage proposal. Following Mark's preference, I switched from being a full-time salaried worker to a full-time hourly position. Who would have thought my efforts to win his heart would come back to haunt me like this? Back then, I couldn't have imagined it. It was shortly after we got married, on a day when I came home late from work. The weather suddenly turned bad, and I ran towards the house. I shouldn't have left the laundry outside. Half regretting it, I opened the door. And there, Mark's shoes were already in the foyer. Seems he got home early today. Thank goodness. The rain just started a moment ago, so the laundry should be fine. Relieved, I stepped inside. I'm home. Welcome back. Huh? What's with that sour tone? When I looked, Mark was sulking on the couch, watching TV, and the laundry was piled up next to him, all messy. About the laundry. Yeah, thanks for bringing it. Why'd you leave it out when the weather turned like this? Aren't you embarrassed making your husband do chores? My words of gratitude got stuck in my throat. Seeing me taken aback, Mark let out an audible sigh. Why do you think I let you work part-time? So you can handle the house chores properly as my wife. You should be on top of these things. How old-fashioned is that? But it was unexpected rain. Yet I was head over heels for Mark at that time. And I was the one who'd presented myself as a domestic goddess. I swallowed my retort and said, understood. Feeling conflicted, I looked at the amulet a friend had given me for comfort. It helped me calm down. I couldn't bring myself to dislike Mark just because of that. A year later, we were blessed with a lovely daughter. We lived close to my parents' place, which was a blessing because they could support us. Mark adored our daughter, but that was it. He barely helped with the housework or childcare. Our daughter, however, was quite attached to Mark, who spoiled her. Maybe it's not so bad as long as he plays with her. Thankfully, we could manage our expenses with Mark's salary. Once our daughter turned 3, I enrolled her in daycare and went back to work part-time. I used my earnings to make things easier for myself. Mark, who didn't do any chores, never criticized how I handled them. Whenever he'd complain about a messy room or late dinner, I'd reassure myself by thinking of him as a big kid who earns money. Despite some dissatisfaction, we lived a relatively harmonious life typical of a family of 3. Then, one Saturday when our daughter was in middle school, shortly after I dropped her off at a club activity, a call came in on Mark's phone. Judging by the voice, it seemed to be his Mill. She sounded pretty serious, and Mark was scratching his head, nodding in agreement. Waiting for him to finish, I approached. Something up? Yay, listen, would it be possible to have my mom and dad live with us for a while? What? According to Mark, his parents' apartment is going to be demolished. They want to stay with us until they find a new place. They're getting older, you know. They're worried about tripping or temperature changes. It's not easy for them to just pick any place to live. Is it okay? I get what he's saying. I understand his parents' concerns too. But those in-laws. I felt uneasy, but nodded. What else could I do? I couldn't possibly tell Mark in front of him that I didn't want his parents here. A month later, Mark's parents arrived with a moving truck. They carried in a mountain of stuff, started exploring the house like they owned it, and sighed. This place is small. It's small because of all your stuff. Swallowing my words, I forced a smile. I opened the sliding door connecting to the living room. I've cleared out the downstairs guest room for you too. Please make yourselves at home until you find a new place. Seems like a cold room, doesn't it? There's central heating. Feel free to use it. As Mill unpacked with a displeased look, Mark's dad just opened the fridge. Whoa, hold on, Dad. What? We're going to be living here, right? What's wrong with opening my own fridge? Well, you're not wrong, but they've hardly ever been here before. Wouldn't it be polite to say something first? I drink 3 beers a day. I'll let it slide today, but don't forget to keep them chilled. All right. This is exactly why I didn't want them here. In the nicest possible terms, they're old-fashioned. They believe elders should be respected. And men are inherently superior to women. The first thing they said when our daughter was born was, "Next time, a boy." What makes it worse is that they absolutely adore Mark, their son, and he turns into a child around them. Fortunately, they've lived far away, so we've only had to put up with them during holidays. But now, I had been optimistic, thinking it would only be a couple of months since it's the moving season. That optimism would soon be shattered. Anna, I've been wondering for a while now, is this all we're having for dinner? After living together for some time, my Mill furrowed her brow as she spoke. Yes. Is something wrong? Rice, miso soup, pickles, and grilled fish. Haven't you heard of a balanced meal? What's with this cheap, lunch special sort of menu? While it may not meet her standards, the miso soup is filled with vegetables, and the pickles are homemade. Nutritionally, it should be fine. Mom works all day and then comes home to cook. I think this is more than enough. My daughter gently defended me, to which my Mill sharply retorted, "Children who know nothing shouldn't interfere in adult conversations. I'm saying this for your father's and your sake, okay?" Right, Anna, you always have weekends off from your part-time job, so you could prepare something in advance, you know. Satisfied with my husband Mark's response, my Mill nodded. I haven't had time to prepare more because I've been running errands like buying beer and adding blankets, all because of my in-laws' demands. If you know better, then focus on your studies. Save your back talk for when you get into a top-tier college. My daughter uncomfortably put down her chopsticks and hurried to room upstairs. I sighed at my Mill, who then complained about my daughter's manners. Do you really think she's going to stay silent when spoken to like that? There are certainly people with worse manners. Hey, go, run! My father-in-law parked himself in front of the TV, gulping down beer with grilled fish and pickles as snacks, and loudly cheered on his favorite baseball team. I frowned at him, who was all excited and spitting while he talked, with one knee propped up on the couch. Since my in-laws arrived, it's always been my father-in-law, the eldest male, who gets the most consideration, followed by Mark, my mill, and then me and my daughter. Sure, there may be times when respecting such hierarchy within the household is important. But what about my daughter's feelings, who feels alienated by our freeloading in-laws who deny our way of life so far? They roam free all week, not lifting a finger to find a new place, let alone help with chores or contribute financially. The last time I asked them to chip in a little money, I was yelled at hysterically. We never asked Mark for money when raising him. How dare you ask us for money, even if we're in-laws? I'm just baffled. And they still don't listen. Instead, they splurge on spa trips and shopping. Both my daughter and I are nearing our limits. On the weekend, I made sure to evacuate my daughter to my parents' home when I had time off, and then secretly spoke to Mark when my in-laws were asleep. Hey, since your parents came, our daughter has been spending more time in her room. And the cost of food and utilities isn't a joke. This is our home, yours, mine, and our daughter's. Please talk to your parents about being more considerate. Yay, well, Dad and Mom will be moving out soon. Just bear with it for a bit longer. Mark answered vaguely, not taking his eyes off his smartphone. Lately, he's been addicted to mobile games and always has his phone in hand when he has free time. His job seems to be demanding too. He's been coming home late and even working weekends. Just last weekend, he rushed off on an unexpected business trip. Are you listening? I'm listening. I'm listening. I wonder what's so fascinating. The moment I tried to peek at his smartphone, he suddenly stood up, hiding the screen. What the hell? That's private. Sure, a smartphone is a personal thing. But is it really that shocking just to see the screen of his game? What are you hiding? And nothing. If it's nothing, show me. I'm curious about this smartphone game you're so hooked on. Well, you see, Mark fumbles with his smartphone behind his back. I wonder if that's why. Just then, a notification sound rings out from the phone. Seems like he forgot to set it to silent mode. It's 11 p.m. on a Friday night. Who'd be messaging him at this hour? It's not like he's a teenager. Suspicious. Seems like you got a message. Why don't you check it? I smile softly. Mark glances at the phone and gives a nervous chuckle. It's work-related. I've got work tomorrow, so let's call it a night, okay? As he's about to head to the bedroom, the phone slips from his hand. I quickly pick it up and see a message from Mommy saying, "Looking forward to tomorrow. Love you." I thrust the phone in his face. What's this fun work with a girl? Who's Mommy? And what's with this love you? My worst fears confirmed. Mark hesitates, but finally slumps in defeat. I'm sorry, it was just a fling. Turns out, he's been having an affair. The whole addicted to smartphone games was a lie. His affair is with a junior co-worker, and all those late nights and weekend shifts were lies. I'm dizzy with betrayal. I thought I was doing my best supporting him through work, chores, and childcare. Seeing Mark try to laugh it off was the last straw for me. You think it's okay if you're not serious about this? Oh, give me a break. Suddenly, with the harsh tone of my voice, my in-laws woke up, rubbing their sleepy eyes. What on earth is going on? Perfect timing. Listen to what your darling son has done, Mark. Dad, Mom, you have to hear this. I explained in detail to my in-laws the facts I had just learned. Mark sat, shrinking, looking like a child who had just been scolded. I don't mind if they think I'm being childish for tattling on him. They both, Mark and his parents, should feel a bit of shame. After finishing my rant, I took a deep breath. That's when my father-in-law, seemingly uninterested, muttered, "That's all, just some fun." What? It's just some flings, right? A little affair here and there. That's just a man being a man. You can't get mad over something so trivial. I can't stand this. That's right. Surely, my mill would understand my feelings. I looked from my father-in-law, who was just digging in his ear, to my mill, and was stunned. She was consoling Mark, rubbing his back. It must have been tough getting yelled at after she snooped through your phone. She used to be so charming and sweet when you first introduced her, and now look at her, acting all old and naggy. I get why you'd want some fun. Mom, you get me? I just needed some excitement. Mark looked up and nodded in agreement. My mill sighed exasperatingly and said, "Please don't scream over such a small matter. If he's cheating, it's because you lack charm, darling." I was speechless. I can't tolerate these people who act like nothing's wrong and even defend their cheating son. I had thought I would wait until my daughter was grown, but I've reached my limit. Let's get a divorce. I pulled out a pre-filled divorce paper that I had saved since our younger days. Mark looked at his parents with puppy dog eyes, seeking help. They just snorted. "We think it's a good idea. You're talented and handsome, Mark. You'll have plenty of other options. And isn't the girl you're seeing now much younger? Maybe you can even have a son." Women, they just become all talk. Watching their reaction to such remarks about our daughter, Mark just smirked. "Yay, our daughter used to be so adorable. Now she treats me like I'm invisible. Maybe starting over with a new family isn't such a bad idea. This is ridiculous." It was Mark who started ignoring our daughter first. He began to find her bothersome as she matured, became smarter, and occasionally mouthed off. It's absurd for him to think she'd still be fond of a father who doesn't genuinely engage with her. Any affection I had left for Mark was quickly fading away. You admit to having an affair, right? In this divorce, I'm going to demand not just a fair share of our assets, but also a significant amount in alimony. Be prepared for that. Just as I said this to my husband, who had picked up a pen, his hand froze. His mother, my mill, grabbed his hand. "Assets and alimony? You're the reason he cheated. Why should my son pay you all this money? In our day, we didn't do that. Don't agree to the divorce if you have to pay such sums." It's nonsense, but to an outsider, it looked like 3 against 1. Mark grinned at his own position. "Exactly. I have to sign off for the divorce to happen. You'll have to consider our opinions too." That's it. Yep. I'm done. I can't deal with these people anymore. I've reached the end of my tether. Fine. Instead of asset division and alimony, I'll just take what I purchased. You can record this as a verbal agreement. Mark and his parents looked visibly relieved. "Hurry up and get this done before she changes her mind." My mill led the way, and we activated the voice memo on our phones. I reiterated my previous statement, and Mark accepted it without a second thought. Here's to the beginning of our second lives. Mark eagerly started filling out the divorce papers. Late that night, after the 3 of them were in bed, I messaged my daughter about our plans moving forward. I was relieved when I received her okay reply. "You better not regret this. Be prepared." Then I hurriedly looked for a new place to live. The divorce papers were successfully submitted. Of course, I retained custody of my daughter. Today is the day my daughter and I leave this house. I had been busy preparing for the move. Mark and his parents were more arrogant than ever, already drinking in the middle of the day. I can't wait to get out of here. My daughter, already fed up with her grandparents, had her bags packed. I didn't have much to pack myself. Not surprising. I had barely done any personal shopping since getting married. And then it was almost time for the movers to arrive. It's good that you don't have much stuff, makes the moving cheaper. My mill grins, poking at the boxes we've packed. My daughter and I glance at each other and burst into laughter. What are you talking about? We rented the largest truck available, you know? What? Ignoring my stunned mill, I walk over to the fridge and yank out the plug. Hey, what are you doing? This is something I bought. I start taking out all the food and drinks, stacking them on the floor. Same goes for the freezer. The floor gets a little wet, but I don't care anymore. My mill grabs my arm. I'm busy. I shake her off and proceed to unplug all the electrical appliances. I carry out everything that I can. Microwave, electric kettle, toaster, and multi-cooker. Then the washing machine, Roomba, and dishwasher. I smile at my astonished husband. Most of the salary went into buying these appliances to reduce the burden of housework. Didn't you notice? Yep. Most of the electronics in the house were bought by me. And that's not all. Mom, I got the ceiling light from upstairs. My daughter, Anne, comes down holding the light fixture. Thanks, Anne. Now please do the living room. Anne takes a step stool and starts removing the living room light. Mark and his father seemed unable to comprehend the situation. Probably because they've been drinking since noon. Well, if I must spell it out for you. The built-in air conditioning, the lights, and even the large furniture were all initially bought by me. Did you forget? Mark seems to snap back to reality. Please stop. Just stop. There's no stopping me. When I entered the traditional style room, I opened the dresser that was placed there. To my surprise, it was stuffed full of clothes belonging to my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I'm only taking what I bought, I declared, grabbing armfuls of clothes and tossing them onto the floor. I didn't care about the high-end brands that were in there. It was none of my business. I emptied out the dresser and then proceeded to empty the bookshelf and the display shelf as well. My vanity. When I opened the drawers, I found a mess of cosmetics that I assumed belonged to my mill. It was too much of a hassle to take them out one by one. Oh, right. Here goes nothing. I turned the entire drawer upside down. It was emptied in no time. Phew, that feels better. My mill, who was hastily picking up her cosmetics, looked pale as a ghost. Mom, the movers are here. My daughter Anne shouted. Show them around and have them start moving stuff. I instructed, quite impressed by her maturity. Compared to the flistered adults around me. Don't mind the mess. Just go ahead and move everything, I told the movers. True professionals. They emptied the house at an astonishing speed. Well, all that remained in the house were a few pieces of furniture and lots of orphaned food and entertainment items. Almost nothing essential for living was left. See you later. I waved goodbye to the moving truck, and my daughter and I finally caught our breaths after the day's work. I took an envelope from my daughter, Anne, and told her to head to my parents' house. Just then, a loud shout came from behind us. I urged a visibly shaken Anne to go before turning around. It wasn't just the alcohol. My in-laws and my husband, Mark, had flushed faces and trembling shoulders. How could you do something so cruel? I've done exactly as promised. Now you all better hurry up with your own moving arrangements. Huh? All three from Mark's family looked dumbfounded. I was incredulous. Have you all forgotten I'm the one who owns this property and house? Mark's face instantly turned pale. You mean you own this house too? Ding, ding, ding. The property and house are already sold. Even though they guessed right, Mark and my in-laws seemed to lose their footing. Ironic, isn't it? But not surprising. You can't just do that. Listen, I bought this house. I'm the owner and I've been paying the mortgage ever since we got married. You've had no part in this, so why should you have a say in selling it? Fact is, whether they lived with us or not, I was able to go ahead with selling the property. I haven't broken any laws. Most importantly, our house was nearly empty. Given their ongoing reckless spending, I couldn't imagine them affording to replace the furniture and appliances to their original quality. It's all good. You've got a cute girlfriend. Just go live with her or something. At my father-in-law's fake cheeriness, I snorted softly. You can do as you please, but don't expect any financial help. I've already asked her for alimony. What? His face looked like he'd been shot with a beanbag gun. If you know what I mean. No, this isn't what we agreed upon. We had no such agreement. I said I wouldn't ask you for alimony, but that changed after our discussion. I had my lawyer contact your girlfriend. She was a little naive, but her parents were sensible, unlike yours. They paid up, saying they had coddled their precious daughter too much. The color drained from Mark's face. No way. Mark frantically tries to call someone on his smartphone, but the voice that leaks from the speaker sounds automated. The number you are trying to reach is either out of range or powered off. I approached my flabbergasted husband and in-laws and handed them the envelope I'd received from Anne. Here, from our daughter. Oh my God, no way. It's a letter from her. Of course, she'd want to help her dad and grandparents in their time of need. Mark's face instantly brightened. Funny, nobody said it was a letter. He hastily opens the envelope and unfolds the paper inside. Wait, what's this? Right, these are child support papers. I had them prepared through a lawyer, and they're perfectly legal. You said I didn't have to pay for property division or alimony. Oh, realized it. I never specified anything about child support. Essentially, receiving child support is a child's right. Mark was flabbergasted. As Anne's father, that's on you. She told me she's determined to get into a top-notch college she can be proud of. You'll be supporting her until she graduates. Mark and his parents were utterly dejected. I thought I'd show a bit of kindness. I laid a moving company pamphlet in front of the three of them and left. A month passed, and when I had the funds from the land sale deposited into my account, I started receiving messages from Mark begging for reconciliation. Apparently, after I called, Mark's affair with his coworker was exposed. His mistress resigned, having lost her place in the company. Mark lost his esteemed position and was demoted. Now they're apparently living in a run-down company house in the middle of nowhere. Mark and his father, who used to shirk household chores, and his mill, who lived at her own pace, are constantly at odds. Their home is a mess, and living normally seems to be a challenge. That's karma, isn't it? He was so persistent, I blocked his messages. and set up call and email blocking. Currently, I've returned to a full-time job, and my daughter, Anne, is living freely and cheerfully. Though our living space has gotten a bit smaller, our furniture and appliances are top-notch. Thanks to Anne's help, I hardly have any household chores. By the way, Anne is juggling both her extracurricular activities and her studies. Despite what my mill says, she's determined to work hard for her future. Mark seems to be living with his family. I'm thinking of going back to my parents' home when my contract is up. My parents have always adored their granddaughter, Anne, and she absolutely loves them. I bet they wouldn't mind us living together. With the settlement and proceeds from the land sale, maybe I could renovate my childhood home to make it more comfortable for my parents and Anne. Opening my dresser, I pulled out the brand new cosmetic stand I recently bought. I applied a calm shade of lipstick to my lips. Life is long. My life is just getting started. Looking in the mirror, I see a contented me. Of course, I'll remain happy.